good morning, evening, or afternoon, whichever one's going on for you at this current point in time. Today, as you can see to my right, well, maybe your left, we're maintaining water heaters. And this is just kind of a 101 for those of you who don't know whether or not you should be doing it, how to do it, and what's the purpose of it. So before I get started, I'm going to put a little video here just to kind of quickly draw out what it is, just a few seconds, just to let you know what the sediment does, what happens when you neglect to take care of your tank, and then we'll get right into what's going on today. Just to give you a little rundown, we're going to be changing out the sacrificial rod. As you can see behind me, we got a couple of PEX lines. That's a big no-no. Again, go with whatever your plumbing code states, but in this state there is no recommendation or there is no guideline for PEX, but I just don't like it. And finally, we're gonna, of course, just put in a camera, check out all that sediment that's in there, get rid of it, and slap her back in. Any questions? If not, check out that quick video, and then let's get started. So to make this as quick as possible, this is your water tank, right? Big old cylinder, rectangle, whatever you want to call it, right? At the bottom, you have your sediment. That's this crap right here. All this nonsense needs to be taken out of your tank, because if it doesn't, I'm just going to write sediment right here in case you forget. It says sediment, right? Now your water, let me just put some blue on here. Your water is the majority of your tank. When you have this sediment taking up space, you have limited potential for water, and your heat, which I'm going to put a little candlestick or a little flame or something. Well, that is blue. That doesn't help you. Okay, so when you put a fire under here, assuming you have a gas tank, right, your fire is heating up your water, but it has to make its way through the sediment to get to your water in order to heat it, right? Hot water. So when your cold water is coming in through your feed, through your supply line from the top, your cold water is cooling the tank's water while your sediment is stopping the heat from coming in. Two things are going to happen. One, I guess it's an awkward angle, but one is the dollar sign. Maybe I can make this green. That's a dollar sign. That's number one. It is going to cost you much more because you have to use extra heating to heat up your water. Number two, that stuff is in your water. That is not good. I am not a good skeleton drawer, but I don't know. Something like that, right? Skull and crossbones. You're going to die. Not really, but it's going to be very unhygienic for both your cleaning of your clothes or showering yourself or splashing yourself in the face, or if you're using that water to cook. You're going to notice a brown, icky, stinky, not so good water over time, if it's bad enough. And tres, use it over here. 3 is it wears your tank because that sediment, all that stuff, it basically causes your anode rod to work a little harder. So we don't want the sediment in that tank. Make myself clear, more expensive, not quite hygienic, not good for you, and can I draw a little muscle? It makes your system work harder, right? Pretend that's a little bicep right there, okay? Just to be clear, if you're maintaining your water heater, first thing you want to do, turn it off. Not vacation mode, not pilot, off. If you need to disconnect the, not disconnect, but close the gas line, I guess you could do that too. But as long as the pilot is not heating the tank, what I did was close the cold and left a hot fixture upstairs. The hot fixture to the tank is kind of around the corner, but I left it open. That way the tank doesn't become airlocked or seized when we start letting flow out. It's going to be pulling air from the plumbing so that it gives a nice good flow when I put up my transfer pump. Next, we're going to give this a quick wipe down because it is grody up here. this is not connected to anything. I mean, it is connected to the vent, to be clear, but as soon as you touch it, it all falls apart. That is a gas exhaust situation. The tenants, they don't really come down to the basement, but this is something that should be connected properly and vented out carefully. The top of the tank is looking much better. Now, the way to mediate this situation would be to probably add another 5-inch or 6-inch, even a foot of venting from there further out, turning the tank. As you can see from the front, this PEX is almost bending at an angle, and you can't really see it on camera, but in person it's bending more to the right side than to the left. The left is sitting high, this one's kind of sitting low. With time, this is going to keep lowering and pressuring this side out. You're going to get a disconnection here, and there's going to be plenty of cold water fill that is coming from here. It's going to be flooding this whole floor until somebody comes down here and notices. So, just to be clear, we don't want that happening with the hot line either. On this side, it seems to be the left side that's lower and the right side that's higher. So these definitely need to go. I am going to be putting flex line shark bites instead. They will hold, and I don't like to cut out any good soldered copper here. So I'm going to clean up these lines, make them nice and good, deburr them if necessary, and then put some stainless steel lines that are going to be threaded straight to the heater and then connect here instead of connection pipe connection. So that's going to be going on both, but let's get this anode rod first. Now before we go taking that anode rod out, I'm just going to lower from right here, put on a 3/4 inch female, and we're going to be draining out some of the water just to make sure that when we pull that bar out or that rod, that we don't end up displacing a whole bunch of water out the top of the water heater. So that's going to go into a bucket, no problem. Just be very careful, especially with the plastic ones, you can break them. If you have the ability to talk to your installer or your person who's maintaining and ask them to change out that plastic valve that comes with your tank for a brass one with a 3/4 inch ball valve, do it. I promise you, it'll be so much better when it comes to cleaning out stuff in the future. You don't have to worry about it failing as much. Do it. Whew. Oh my God, that was a fight, but I do not want to show just the good stuff. Oh. Okay, all right, it's not horrible. You can still see, damn, this is still hot and steaming. Hold up, I'm actually having second thoughts. This is still plenty fine. Yeah, I was gonna change it, but the only part is, if you look at the tip right here, that's the only section that's really any type of concern right here. But the rest of it, I mean, looks like, especially the lower part, it's just cracks and little hits here and there. I would probably leave this in for another, I mean, based on the condition, maybe another year or two. Wow. Right, plus with the clearance, I'm not able to pull it out anyways. I'd have to cut it. There's only about maybe 3 feet between here and in between those two joists. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave this. But you always wanna check this. If this thing looks like it's eaten through, then of course change it. But don't worry, this is just using the automatic setting. I'm just running down the threads. Once the tool notices any tension, it will stop. See how even if I press it, it's not going to allow me to put any more torque. Now, because this is about me being as technical as possible, I apologize to those of you who want to see me not talking and just working. I just want to show it for the regular I was going to say folks and people. For the regular people that are going to be watching this, this is a flexible shaft anode rod instead of the standard one. The one I pulled out, they're all solid core. You basically have to just lift them all in one piece. These, kind of like nunchucks. Yes, right? Okay. They have flexible stainless steel connections, and the rest of them are magnesium. For those of you who don't have a good clearance, let me just show you, right? This one here is roughly about 3 feet up. Let's see, actually no, 28 inches. Yep, 28 inches. So when you have a 42, 44, 46 foot, or a 46 inch rod, there's no way that's coming out without cutting it. So that's where these nice little connections come into place, and they basically give you, I don't want you to misquote me here, these are 8.5, little more connections each. So as long as you have about 10 inches, maybe 11, I'd say a foot to be safe. As long as you have a foot of clearance above, you should be able to get these joints in, no problem. And the good part is you can cut them. So if from the tip you only need this much, you can cut it there. If you, like me, I have a 10 gallon tank, I probably cut it there, right around 18 inches. Whatever you need, you can cut off the part you don't need and toss it. Otherwise, the full size 42 or 44 inch. This TPR looks crooked for a reason. That's because I already turned it. I'm already working it out. So if you see that you don't have the clearance like I don't here, you would just bring it back down, and you're gonna have to unthread this right here. So this runoff pipe, I mean, they should not be crazy tight. If they're crazy tight, I don't know what to tell you. You're gonna need some good pliers. My Knipex have not failed me yet, but this comes out nice and happy. I don't know why they have a copper attached to galvanized and expect this not to be full of corrosion. This is a no-no. This could have been brass, they would have no problem. But they've got copper hooked up to galvanized, hooked up to brass. Come on, people. Not hard. Like metals with like metals, anti-metals if you want to be calling people out to give them your money. Next, I know that this is not going nowhere without some pliers. Let me zoom in action. Zoom in action. Right? Just going to grab your pliers. Now make sure that your water is cut off, and if you see water coming from here, it's because you didn't drain enough at the bottom. For me, that's okay because there's drains all over the place, but you know, just something to know about. And I also have the plastic jaw protectors for the Knipex. You don't want to kill the metal, especially with a pair of like really angry cobra teeth. You want to make sure those cobras are using the plastic protectors. Brass is a softer metal, and you do not want to break these. Now you're probably thinking, why did you do that? Why did you take out the TPR instead of properly draining it? I'm doing the worst case scenario just to show you if for whatever reason you cannot remove your draining valve, or it's broken, either the plastic cracked off inside and you got to drill it out and you can't do it right now. It's just one way to do it. So once you get it out through the TPR valve, or if you have to go through the top through the anode hole and suck out the water that way, this is just worst case scenario. I wanted to make it the absolute, like, most videos on YouTube are like, what happens if everything goes perfectly right? This is not one of those cases. So I'm just showing you, you can go through the TPR. It's just going to be a little patient. And I drained roughly a little under 5 gallons straight into the bucket. No harm, no foul. Next, I got my camera. We're just going to go in and see what the condition of the tank is. So that's the anode rod. We are now currently under the water. So that's the bottom of the tank. Try to see if you guys can see that. Those little gold flakes. Very little. Okie dokie. Let's see if I can bring you in here. So this is the kind of stuff that's going to be sitting on the bottom of your tank. You do not want this stuff in your clothes, in your food, in your face. I know the aerator and all the other things it has to pass through might catch it, but this, not good. So this is something that should be done once a year, just so this stuff doesn't build up in your tank. Again, this stuff sits, so don't forget it. Now that we know that all the orange buildup and sediment that was there is almost non-existent, there is a couple particles and you're never going to get perfect tank. But if you're running your tank, use your drain line or any way to run the water. If your water is running clear, that's when you know it's done. Don't run it once and that's it. It's until your water runs clear. Everybody's a little bit different, so as much as it takes, and if you have to keep opening the cold water just to kind of agitate that stuff, agitate it up, suck it out, and your tank will be good. Last thing I'm going to do, put the TPR on. Let's get these lines changed because I don't like this PEX, and we're out of here. Let's do it. Okay, apparently some back and forth later. They're 1 1/4 inch. So all right. Listen, people, please watch the whole video. This is crazy to take out, but that's one. Whew. I'm not asking for nothing. Just watch the video. Cool? Okay, thank you. Now, always make sure you have the means to be able to remove it, because if not, it's already disconnected, and the last thing you want to do is disconnect it, have no way of doing it, the parts are not here, and then you're stuck, you know, telling somebody, wait, don't, no hot water, maybe no cold water either. Don't do that. Make sure you have a game plan, a backup plan, and a backup plan. I just caught that, but I didn't catch it on camera. What I did was I took the Cobras, got a good bite on them, and then I was able to impact it off. If you don't have a vise, just have a really good grip and a really good pair of pliers. Next, we got to hit those nice and clean and then make our marks so we can have the right depth and deburr them if necessary. These little cups from Vuyar. If I grab this light real quick, you'll see that inside there are teeth, those little brushes. That's going to clean any oxidation that's chilling on these lines, and each size is different. This is 1/2 inch. They also come in 3/4 of an inch and 1 inch. And just to make sure, go in with the rigid tool, clean any burrs that might be there. Nice and clean, and then chamfer the outside. Nice and clean. Now, as per shark bite, they want, for 1/2 inch, they want the shark bite maxes to be a depth of 1 inch. So from the edge of the pipe, we're gonna measure 1 inch. We're gonna make our 1 inch mark right there. Now, as long as this fitting has this depth, we know that it's not gonna leak and it's been installed properly. Cleaned, deburred, 1 inch, we should be good. Now we come in with our line, make sure that it's threading from the bottom first and that there's plenty of throw. Thread that down. Now, I said I was going to put some pipe thread sealant. I put a little bit of PTFE, but SharkBite wants this to be a completely natural fitting. So, I'm going to grab my pliers. Where are my pliers? All right, once that's good, all we have to do is make our connection at the top. And that's what you love about flexible cables, is nice and happy connection. And as you can see, it comes up right to our mark we made, so we know it's a nice solid connection. Okay, the system has repressurized, no leaks at any of the fittings. Here, 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 here. TPR is good, valve is good, anode rod is also good. All that's left is to put the little cap or the little protector back around the anode rod and give it a little love tap. And once it's flush, I'll do that correctly in a second, you're all set. All that's left to do is replace the venting. And we restart the system. That's all there is to it. Once it starts beeping blue for this particular model, switch it over to hot. I don't like very hot. I don't like scalding, even if the people are, wonderful with hot showers. No, the regular hot is typically 120 to 125. That's where I'm going to set it. Y'all want to set it higher? Be my guest. That's up to you. This is the only trash we made, just a couple of shark bites and 2 pieces of PEX. I hate when people make a bad name for PEX. Use it in the right places and don't cut it too short, because I've seen PEX connections disconnect from a water heater and they're pouring water and everybody says it's PEX's fault. Shark bites suck. In the end, it's not the shark bite, it's not the PEX, it's the person who installed it wrong. And that's all there is to it. The camera light died, so I'm dealing with my actual work light, but thank you so much for watching. I'm about to get out of here. It's dark as hell. And I'll see you in the next one. So until next time, this kind of looks creepy. Work smart and maintain your water heaters before they go bad. It's way cheaper to maintain them than it is to replace them. See you in the next one.